Hello, folks. I just wanted to make a quick video about a piece of paper I was given yesterday. Yesterday. I guess it's a survey. At least what I was told was it was a survey for the health department or the ombudsman, one or the other, having to do with the nursing home treatment and so forth. And I kind of felt bad. I think they need to reword it because in the beginning it said on a scale of 1 to 10 or 0 to 10, one or the other, how likely are you to recommend this nursing home to a family member? And I think it was 2 out of 10. I wanted to put 0 or 1, but I forget if it was my op-ed or one of my other videos. I said I wouldn't recommend this place to anybody except, like, if you have a family member that's high functioning and just needs a place to be, like, old for a while, or for the rest of their life, but just a place to be old and somebody to give them medication, that kind of thing. Really, assisted living would be better for somebody, but that's why I said 2 out of 10 rather than 0. So, or 1, I guess. I mean, this place isn't that bad. It's better than the last place I was in, but it's a far cry from the place I was in up north. And it's a far cry from when I read the state and federal laws, what that says. A lot of things need to be changed. It's like a nursing home that's only been done half-assed. That's really what this place is like. It's like it wouldn't take much to make this one of the best nursing homes around. It's just about changing the way you think about things. And actually, the administrator agreed with me the other day when I said, this is like a hotel. And the people that work here are just like the people that work in a hotel. You don't just walk into somebody's hotel room, and you treat those people like they are paying customers, because that's what we are. But here we get treated like we're kind of like interlopers on their place of business, where they work. And we get it for free. I even had a nurse practitioner over in River City Center over in Decatur say that to me. Tell me to get. She didn't realize I was listening in on a text message that was being read to me as she was texting it. But she said, "Tell me to get real insurance instead of free insurance." And as far as I know. And I was actually shocked by this. Something like 65 or 70% of all of the people in this state that require assistance, like in nursing homes or whatever, are on Medicaid. Actually, maybe it's just in nursing homes, but they're on Medicaid, which means if everybody's doing it, what is she talking about? Get insurance I'm paying for. Because I've noticed that you don't get doctors' attention unless something happens to you, in which case I think the facility is paying them. But that's pretty much it. Because I've asked for months to see a doctor or to see now it's a nurse practitioner because they've changed, and never saw any. But I actually had to talk to her in passing, and then she come by today. Today was her first visit to see if I was okay. I think that was a normal visit because not too long ago I choked. It was an MS thing, I get or medication because I get dry mouth. That's why I keep taking drinks. And it makes me start talking funny. But it also makes it so I get, food stuck in my throat because it's actually dry throat that's the problem. And I thought I was good, but I wasn't. So I don't know if today's visit was because of that. Man, I don't know why I'm being honest about it. Just MS hug. I don't know if she was doing a follow-up because she was here the day that I choked talking to me about that. So I don't know if she was just following up on that or if it was just a regular visit because they are supposed to come around occasionally and make sure you're, what's going on or whatever. So I don't know. But it does seem like if you have Medicare or private insurance, they take better care of you here than if you're just on Medicaid. And when you're just on Medicaid, like the therapy I got, she gave me a towel to put under, gives my left foot rolls. And that's because I was supposed to have reconstructive surgery in the Army, and they decided not to do it because I beat up a bunch of MPs and went to prison for it while I was handcuffed. So when they saw me come in with handcuffs, I was supposed to have reconstructive surgery. The surgeon said, never mind. So they never did it. And I limped on my left leg for, seems like 5 years, but I'm going to say at least 3 after that. So now that I have MS and everything, this left leg, the ankle flips really bad. So they're trying to fix that. So they put the thing under. And she told me, well, we have a brace that'll help you. And then she said, are you on Medicare or Medicaid? I said Medicaid. Then all of a sudden it was like, well, keep stretching. All of a sudden there was no talk about this brace. And I told her, I said, I thought I turned it off. But I said, well, this wheelchair costs thousands of dollars and Medicaid getting it. Sometimes they surprise me and give me stuff that you don't think they're going to give you. So I don't know, she might be doing the Medicaid thing and I'll never get to see the brace, or maybe I'll see the brace. I don't know. But I'm off topic. Let me go back to this paper I got. This paper I got, which should be reworded. Oh, here we go again. So to make noise when you yawn because it's better for your throat or something. I don't know. That's what I was told by the speech therapist. So I got this thing. It said 1 to 10, recommend to friends and family. I said practically nothing. I just gave them a little bit because it's not the worst place in the world. And really, they don't have much to fix to make it a much better place. At least average, right? But as it is now, I literally, every single question, I sat there and thought about it. And because of the answers they told me, because of the choices they gave me, I couldn't answer any of them except for no. There was one, and I don't even remember what it was that it was. Because the choices in the beginning were like, let me think of one real quick. An example of a question. It would be like, oh, that was one of them. And I said no, but just to give you an idea what the answers were. It said, does the staff here remember your needs and meet your needs on a daily basis? That might have been 2 questions, but you know what I'm saying? Like, do they remember who you are? And like, for me, for example, I like these 2 blinds to be opened up in the morning, and I have to tell them every time to open them up in the morning so that when the sun comes up, I'll know about it. And I like natural light. I don't like this overhead light. So I like to let the sunshine come in through the windows, even though it doesn't shine directly in here. And just light up the room with regular, whatever the ambient light that's coming in, and whatever's out in the hallway sometimes if I have that door open. But that's what one of the questions was, how well does the staff remember things that you like and do those things for you, basically. I forget exactly how it was worded, but that's what it was said. And the answers were, you could say, not at all, somewhat, they remember, what is it? It was the way it was worded. Give me a minute, because there was 3 above that. But the very first one above not at all was somewhat yes, or yes somewhat, whatever. And then the one that was then it was like, oh, they're spectacular, basically, was the other 2. But the first one was not at all. The next one was yes, somewhat. And I'm like, well, I can't say yes somewhat because it's not like that. It doesn't work that way. Because with one CNA, it might be yes somewhat. But by and large, no. It's only one CNA here and there. And one CNA might remember my blinds, whereas another CNA might remember that my chair needs to be charged pretty much every night. So it's never the same thing. So I can't really say yes somewhat, because for no CNA is it everything. It's always no. If I wanted to say for all CNAs, it's no. If I want to say some CNAs remember some things, some CNAs remember other things, then okay, I can say yes somewhat, kind of, if you separate it like that. But the way the answers are, it's either no or it's yes, not as much as they should, but yes. You know what I'm saying? And then there's 3 yeses. One is not as much as they should, one's they're great at it, and one's spectacular, whatever. They kind of went like that. And I'm like, why are you starting with only one negative? And all of them are basically positive, right? It shouldn't be like that. It should be on a scale of 1 to 5 or 10 or whatever. How would you rate the overall staff's ability to remember things or whatever? Then you can say, oh, well, in that case, I'll give them a 2, because some do, some don't. And by and large, it's a 2. But you can't say, yes, they remember it as a whole. Everybody in general remembers it somewhat, because they don't. Some do, some don't. Some is a definite no, it's a hard no. Some it's like, most of the other ones are going to be in the very first column. Yes, somewhat. I think there was only one CNA that you would go even above that as far as remembering things, right? But it was all like that. It was all, food experience. Are the CNAs remembering things? Are the CNAs meeting your needs? Blah, 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 like that, right? And those were the answers. And then it changed the answers to not at all, or let's say, I think the kitchen experience was one of them, or eating experience, basically. It said, it was terrible was the first one. It was basically, that's what it means. I forget exactly what it said, but the very first answer is always the most negative, right? Then the very next answer was average. And I'm like, well, how in the world are you supposed to say it's either it's terrible or it's average? There is no in between. But yeah, there's a lot of in between, and that's what should be on this paper. And then they have 2 above average, which are above average, And I'm thinking, well, the only thing I put on here is no, it's terrible. And because it's not average by far. This place is not average, because if it was, I would be able to recommend it to other people. And if this is average, holy cow. The nursing homes in this country are terrible. Because, I mean, I guarantee, not so much here, it probably happens here, but definitely in Decatur. Over there, I'm sure, without a doubt, that there are people dying because they're being neglected. And over here, it probably happens, but I haven't seen or heard of it. Over in Decatur, yeah, I heard it, CNAs talking about how they were pretty sure that it was neglect. I've had CNAs tell me that themselves, traveling CNAs and traveling nurses who are from like Texas, that that place is terrible and that people are dying because of neglect. I kind of think it's happening here, but I don't really have any kind of proof of it or any high suspicion of it other than the way that they treat people. But here, I think that they care more about whether or not that happens, whereas over there it's like, well, they were old, they died. Well, over here some of the CNAs are like that, but over in Decatur River, most of them, a lot of them were like that. They were like, yeah, well, he was old and died, big deal. You know, that's kind of what a lesser percentage over here thinks, but that's the way they think. They're like, yeah, well, you know, what's weird is that there are women here that are CNAs that are older than my age or older that are not doing very well, that will probably be dead long before I am, and yet they are the caregivers. Something in my head, it just doesn't jive right, you know, that these people who, in my opinion, probably aren't far from being in the next bed over in the next room, that they're taking care of me. It's just something weird about that. But that's basically how this paper went. It was two sides. It was like, I don't know, what would it be? Maybe 20 questions. And this is a survey that I guess the public health puts out. It's anonymous. And then the other thing is that it tells you as a circle, like an SAT test, and it tells you to fill in the circle. Don't do it partially, blah, blah. Fill it in. I can't even write my name. And they want me to fill this circle in perfectly. I couldn't do it. The only thing that I was able to do was make sure that all of the circle was darkened in, even though I went outside the circle. You see what I'm saying? I think I almost stayed inside the circle. And it took a lot of concentration and doing it very slowly. But for the most part, the circles are filled in. It's just, you know, I went over the line. You know, it's like trying to teach a toddler how to color, and they color out over the lines. It was like that, you know. I was really surprised that that's the kind of test that they give to people in a nursing home. And then they have in the instructions, do not only fill it in this way, not this way, not this way, not this way. You can't do an X, you can't do a check mark. You have to actually fill it in, which tells me, because in the old days of the SATs, they did that because it was read by computer, and the computer couldn't identify them if they were only partially filled in. So you had to completely fill in the circles. That's what the deal was with the SATs. I'm figuring that's got to be the same deal now with this questionnaire or whatever it was, that a computer's reading it. And, well, there's so many people, probably. But they need to loosen up those guidelines so that people who have an issue writing can fill this out, because it's supposed to be anonymous. My only option was to have somebody that works here fill it out for me, and it's about this place and the people that work there. Why would I want one of them to fill out a thing that's all negative about the people that work here? You know, it might not be about that person in particular, but it doesn't mean they're not going to go yapping to other people and saying, hey, this person doesn't like anything about this place, because now they're going to start taking it personally. So they need to do something. And then there's a part where you have to write, you can, like a essay question, you can, if you want to say more, you can put in there. And I'm like, I did the best I could. I put residents should have more respect. But that filled in the whole box because I had to write it like a 5-year-old, in big letters and that, and it's hard to read. So we'll see what happens. If anything, well, they probably won't pay any attention to it anyway, but that's just, I just thought I'd tell you about that. And well, I'm not going to say nothing about that. It doesn't matter. I don't really understand what she said totally, so I'm not going to say anything. But I guess that's it as far as this goes. I just wanted you to know that the paper they gave me for the survey about this nursing home and how well it's doing, it needs to be reworded. So if you're one of those people, reword the damn thing. But I kind of got the impression, because the answers, even though the answers changed, they were still kind of the same. It was only the very first. Either it's terrible or it's average, and that's no matter what the answers were. It was that first one was either terrible, or there was 3 other answers, at least 3. I know it was at least 3. And the very first one was average. No, that's not the way it is, because if you're trying to rate a nursing home, it's going to be some combination or somewhere below average without being terrible. But they don't have that in between. They only go from terrible to average and then above average. There's no in between there. And there really needs to be an in between, because that's where most of the nursing homes are, as far as I know, is they're below average. So, but they're above terrible. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, if you have something to say about this, go ahead and put it in the comments below. Like, comment, and subscribe. And let me think. I think that's it. I'll just make another video if I have to. But like, comment, subscribe, and until next time, thanks a lot.